All right, so we're going to be talking about factoring and simplifying radicals. We're not doing this year, but I want to expose you to it because it goes along with the square root concept and it is very easy and it will help you when you get into algebra. So let's go ahead and look at that. There's two types of factoring. There is prime factoring and regular factoring. And so we're going to look at the number 24. All right. Now, I'm going to prime factor it by pulling out all the prime numbers. So 2 times 12, and I'm going to keep pulling out 2. 2 times 6, 2 times 3. That is all you have. And then when you would rewrite it using exponents, it would be 2 cubed times 3. This is prime factoring. Okay, now if we look at our 24 again, we're going to look at it and just factor it normally, meaning I'm going to pull out every single factor 24 has. So in this case, I'm going to have 1 and 24, which I don't really need to write. I've got 2 and 12 again. Then I'm going to use, on the left side, I'm going to go up in counting order. 3 and 8. And if you look over to the left, 2 cubed is 8, so that is right. 4 and 6. 5 doesn't work, 6 works, but I already have it. All right. And if you look, all of your factors are going from least to greatest in that order. Now, you need to know this because if we had to simplify this, the square root of 24, we're not asking what the square root is exactly. We're not asking for the estimate. We're going to say that it is a product of two factors. So what you're going to do is you are going to look for the largest square in this factoring. All right, so if we look here, 4 happens to be my largest square. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the root. So what we end up getting is 24 is 4 times 6. I've rewritten that underneath the radical sign, and it's still equivalent to 24. Now I'm going to pull out the square root of 4, which happens to be 2. That 6 stays behind. This right here is your simplified version of the number. So you're going to pull out the root and you're going to leave the rest. And we are going to try one more. Let's try 54 would work nicely. The square root of 54, we're going to factor it. And you can use prime factoring as well. Because if you looked up here, let's look at this. If I used the prime factoring, I could see that I had 2 of those 2's. So I could have had 2 squared times 6 right here. But we're just going to go ahead and look for the largest square. So 54 happens to be 2 and 27. 3, let's see, 54 divided by 3 is 18. 4 does not work. 5 does not work. 6, does 6 work? Let's check. If 2 and 3 work, 6 does work. Goes in 9 times. 6 and 9, and then 7, 8, 9. Okay, we're going to look for our largest square. There it is. We're going to rewrite 54 as, and I'm going to reverse the order, 6 times, or 9 times 6, because I want that perfect square, this perfect square, to be closer to the outside. I'm going to pull out that root. So square root of 9 is 3, and then square root 6. You'll hear this called 3 square root of 6 or 3 times the square root of 6. Let's say we had this one. Let's say we did the square root of 72. When you have this, let's say, oh man, I know that that's 8 times 9. Okay? And I know that 9 is a perfect square. Well, you can do that. So we're going to pull out the 3, and then we're going to have times the square root of 8. Now, look at that 8. Does it have any squares in it? Well, let's factor it. 2 and 4. Oh, snap, crackle, and pop. There it is. Another square. So what we're going to do is pull that root out. So here is my radical sign. This square root of 4 is going to drop out on the outside. That 3 is still there. They're multiplying. They're going to multiply. And then the 2 is going to stay behind. This 2 is right there. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and set it up. 3 times 2 is 6 times the square root of 2. You can check that, because if I did go ahead and factor 72, if I did 72 divided by 2, I would have gotten 36 if I had factored it from the get-go. So 36 times 2, your square root of 36 is 6 square root of 2. But I just want you to see that if you didn't bust it down all the way, you can still continue to pull stuff out. Just know when you do that these multiply on the outside.